Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto became the Crimson Reaper half-demon with Tenten, Hinata and Sakura, part 3. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. Hanabi-chan, could you please let go of Naruto-kun, we have training to do. She said in a forced sweet tone. Naruto blinked. Did that just sound forced? Hiashi had walked out a few moments before and was now watching the scene with a highly amused smirk on his usually stoic features. In his opinion, this was just what Hinata needed to get her Hyuga pride and fighting spirit aflame. This ought to be rich. The man thought while snickering to himself. It's still early, sister. Besides, I'm sure Naruto-kun wouldn't mind spending more time with me. She said with a smirk. Well, Naruto trailed off confused as hell. Kun. What the hell? But he came here to spend some time with me. I'm sure you understand that, little sister. Hinata replied almost smugly and wrapped her arms around Naruto's left arm, giving him an unintentional feel. Naruto flushed slightly. What in the 9 levels of hell is going on here? Oh damn, that's soft, really nice, is that a nip? Gah, I'm not supposed to think about those things right now, must kill dirty thoughts, Orochimaru and Kabuto in the shower, okay, bad idea and even worse visual. Naruto's complexion had taken on a rather green look. Inside of Hiashi's head he was rolling in laughter, he knew those looks. First Naruto had a dirty thought, meaning there was hope for the boy yet, and then to try and get rid of it he thought of the worst thing he could, hence the reason the boy now looked ready to blow chunks. Hanabi scowled at Hinata, so her sister was going to play that game, was she? She clutched to Naruto's tail tighter, ignoring the slight wince that came from the new if not sudden object of her affections. I understand, older sister, but Naruto-kun can decide whether or not he wants to spend time with you or someone cute like me. Right, Naruto-kun? She asked in the cutest tone of voice she could muster, which was damn cute all things considered. Hinata let an uncharacteristic scowl cross her features as well. You too young for this, little girl, try again in a few years. She said in an obvious sweet tone. Hiashi almost wished he had some popcorn. This was better than those manga he and Arashi used to read. Girls. Naruto started. I'm only 3 years younger than Naruto-kun and I don't see a ring on his finger. Hanabi shot back, irritated. She was mature for her age, damn it. Well, I saw him first. Hinata said in a rather childish tone. Girls. Naruto squeaked as Hanabi began petting his tail in a not-so-innocent manner, and Hinata had shifted so that his hand was practically smooshing her. Damn, shit. Not getting perverted thoughts, ignoring cute girl petting tail and hot older girl crushing her with my hand, this really isn't working. Naruto thought pathetically. So what? You never did anything about it before. Hanabi said smugly. Well, I'm trying to now. Hinata blurted out as the two sisters glared at each other, sparks shooting at each other's eyes. Naruto turned his head to see Hiashi standing there, his stoic mask wavering slightly in amusement. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. A little help here, Naruto said. Hiashi decided to have a little fun for a change, fun that would end up having some rather interesting consequences. Well, I could arrange a marriage between you and Hinata and a betrothal bond between you and Hanabi. He mused in a mock-thinking pose. If this plan worked, the Hyuga clan could finally be freed. Naruto's jaw dropped. Hanabi and Hinata perked up and stopped arguing to see Naruto had actually fossilized on the spot. It became so quiet that you could hear crickets chirping. This could work out very well for the clan. Neither Hinata or Hanabi really want or are suited to be clan heirs, but Neji. He would make a superb successor and I could have my revenge against the council for giving my brother and nephew that damned cursed seal. Not to mention any children sired by Naruto, and one or both of my daughters would have near limitless potential and our clans would be united, With Naruto-san's help we could abolish the branch house and the caged bird seal just like I had planned with Arashi. Hiashi schemed to himself. All previous silliness aside, Naruto found himself in a quandary. This had supposed to have been a simple trip back in time. Sure, he had planned on changing a few things, but nothing like this. And while he wasn't really adverse to the idea of such an arrangement with Hinata, the offer for Hanabi freaked him out. Naruto also knew that Sakura, Ino and Tenten had developed feelings for him and he still had no problems with that. But offering a 10-year-old to a 13-year-old, what the hell was Hiashi thinking? This is where the problems began. Shinigami had warned him that some things might take drastic changes. Now he understood what the death god meant. He had planned on perusing Hinata since Sarutobi made him aware that she had feelings for him. Sakura was another that, while he wasn't against the idea, had surprised the shit out of him. In the previous timeline, Sakura hadn't even liked him until after his training trip with the pervy sage, not that it had mattered since he only spent 6 months in Konoha before the sound attack that led to the death of Sasuke. Ino was a shock as well. He was sure that she had hated him. Tenten, she had always been nice to him, but it was more like passing acquaintances. Having spent that past 2 weeks getting to know the girls better had helped. He could genuinely admit that he had the same feelings for Hinata as he did Kyuubi. Sakura, he was moving slower with, but she ranked up with Hinata due to the amount of time he spends with her. Ino he could classify as a really good friend right now. Though a very flirtatious one, much like Kyuubi had been, he would have no problem taking her out on a date. Tenten was ranked between Sakura and Ino, looking very promising as they did. In short, he was now close enough to each of them that he would gladly sacrifice himself for them. The problem was, it was all going way too damn fast, and he knew the council had something to do with it, or the girl's parents, since many in the council wanted marriages that they arranged. Naruto let out a sigh and regained his composure once Hinata let his arm go. Look, Hiashi Dono, I can appreciate that you want Hinata-chan to be happy as well as Hanabi-chan, but I will need some time to think about all of this. Things are going a little too fast for my tastes. But I will consider your proposal once I've thought about it and we've had a private talk about it. I understand, Naruto-san, I am just looking out for my little girls. There are few I would trust with them, and you have proven you deserve such trust the day you slew that demon. Hiashi said. Naruto nodded and noticed looks of disappointment on the two girls' faces. Hinata-chan, Hanabi-chan, don't get so upset. I am actually not against the idea. But Hanabi is still rather young and should be given the chance to seek others of interest out rather than be tied down at such an early age. And Hinata, well, I've known for a while that you liked me and I like you a lot as well, but I had hoped we would at least have a date or two before being put in this position, so please try to understand. I need some time. Both girls nodded with small smiles. They could understand his situation. They had been brought up with the understanding that they both might someday be married to the same man, which would be the heir to a powerful clan, to ensure both line succession and political ends. Hanabi also understood that not only was she too young for anything more than a betrothal bond, but she really didn't know Naruto all that well at all. She wasn't really sure just what had come over her, but she had felt drawn to him. She'd figure it out in time. Hinata though had a happy feeling run through her. He hadn't rejected the idea and had even mentioned dating and that he liked her. It was like a dream come true for her. Hinata-chan, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to skip our training today. I've just got too much on my mind. Here, these tonfa are for you. I will be training you how to mix them with Jiyuken-style attacks. Naruto said, handing her the twin weapons. Hiashi Dono, I will be speaking to you once I've thought some things out. Naruto said. Understood. Once again, I apologize for putting the pressure on you. Hiashi said. Naruto nodded and vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto let out a sigh as he walked towards Sarutobi's office within the Hokage Tower. He had spent a day and a half thinking things over concerning the girls, not idle thinking either, very hard, long and drawn out thinking. He had even missed 2 meals over it, which was something he rarely did. As it was though he needed to talk to someone with a bit more life experience that he had. All things considered, he was still quite new to this whole having girls like him thing, even if he was from the future. The 2 Chunin guards let him pass and Naruto walked in to see the old man and 3 of his clones. The clones working busily on some paperwork and him not reading his smut for a change. What a shock. "Ah, Naruto, what brings you by here this fine morning?" he said in his usually cheerful attitude. Naruto took a seat and accepted the offered cup of tea from another clone. "I need some advice and I'm sure you know why, but first I have a couple of questions." Sarutobi nodded and for safety measures put up a privacy genjutsu. "Very well, my boy, what is on your mind?" "First, I have noticed that while some of the population no longer seems to hate me, many of them still do. I do not really care, but I assume it is the more pig-headed council members that are to blame for this?" he asked. "Yes, most of which are civilian council and or Danzo's supporters. They seemed quite upset about his death," the old man answered. "Though I suspect that you are dodging your real question." Naruto chuckled. "Perceptive as ever, Ji-san, I wanted to know if the council is putting pressure on getting me married or something of the like," he stated. "Your supporters have been pushing for it a bit, seeing as how you are, in body, going to be 14 soon. According to the Clan Restoration Act laws, if you don't have the minimum of chosen wives by the age of 16, then the council will choose them for you via arranged marriages, and you already know what will happen if you fight that. Part of the rush is due to your dujutsu. They want to ensure more will have the Omnigan," Sarutobi explained. "Well, shit," Naruto cursed. "This is happening a little too fast for my tastes, even if I did have at least 2 chosen and 3 possible. As for the Omnigan, Q made it for me so I'd have a better chance against other dujutsu since it can negate the effects of them. But I'm sure it will be passed on to any children I might have." 5. Who is the 5th? I was only aware of the 3 genin girls from your year in Tenten, the Hokage asked, but put the other information away in his mind for future reference. "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Shinigami informed me that Kyuubi's soul from this time frame is assimilating fragments of her soul from my old timeline. As such, I sort of created an alternate timeline and she is being resurrected as a Hanyu at about half her original power. Apparently, once her soul sphere started absorbing the fragments from the future, she gained her future self's memories and wants to be with me again. I was told she would revive in about a month or so, but I think it might be sooner since I can feel our previous soul bond active again," Naruto informed the old man, who to his own credit took it quite well. He only turned white as a sheet. It had been a good idea to leave out the fact he had also spoken to Kami. Didn't want to give the old man a heart attack. "She won't attack us again, will she?" the elderly man asked. Naruto rolled his eyes. "No, though she might very well castrate Orochimaru and feed him his jewels when and if she sees him." Naruto thought for a moment. "I was already in love with her, so she will be a part of my clan. Hinata I had and still fully intend on courting. The 3 possible ones are Sakura, Ino and Tenten, though Hiashi seems to want me to get betrothed to Hanabi as well for some reason. All fine choices, my boy, and I can see what Hiashi is thinking, though I will leave that to the 2 of you to talk about. I am sorry for getting nervous about Kyuubi. I sometimes forget that she too was a victim." Sarutobi apologized. "Don't worry about it. But there is still this problem. At first I was going to just wait a few centuries for people to forget about me so I could start a clean slate after I prevented my future from happening. I didn't expect or plan for any of this with the girls to happen, and it was one hell of a surprise when it came to Sakura, Ino and Tenten. Then finding out that Q was coming back to life, it's been a lot to take in. To be honest, I don't really know what to do," Naruto said. The old man thought for a moment. He knew the boy had been growing a good friendship with the girls, friendships that could easily evolve into a loving relationship with each of them. The girls already seemed set in their choices, and while he would admit that it had been rather fast of their part, it was not unheard of, especially when considering the boy's father. He and Kushina had fallen in love with each other in less than a week and had one of the most solid relationships he had ever seen. Even if she had been a right Spitfire, the girls would also prove to be good choices for him in the long run as well, due to both clan dynamics and each of the girls having strong wills. Even Hinata had proven her will to be strong when need be. Then an idea popped into the elderly Mon's head, one that would be highly beneficial for all considered. I have an idea, Naruto. I want you to sit down and speak with each of the girls, have a serious conversation if you will. Talk about the situation and their reasons for wanting to be with you. If you approve of it, then you can enter into a trial engagement with them. This gives you both the option to see if getting married would work out in the long run, but still have the option of backing out, and it would get the council to settle down. However, to fool the council, you will have to get the necessary rings for each of the girls or pendants, as it might suit their needs as kunoichi better. What you want to do is make the council think that you are fully engaged to the girls, not doing it on a trial basis. Make sure they know as well. Seeing as how they are kunoichi, a pendant would be more practical for the situation. Talk to them first though, and then get the pendants just in case. Sarutobi said. HNN. Naruto hummed in thought. It's really not a bad idea, Gigi. And I might use it sometime soon if the council starts getting antsier. The only thing that truly has me confused is why all these girls have suddenly taken such a liking to me, when in my previous timeline the only one who might have even thought about it was Hinata, not to mention her father seems nicer in this timeline as well. Naruto sighed. The best explanation that I can come up with is that I not only came back in time, but the changes I made have turned this timeline into an alternate one. He added as an afterthought. Or, being a Hanyu, you give off a sort of aura that attracts females to you. Sarutobi offered. Naruto shook his head. No, I do have such an ability, but it would work on all females within a proper age range. I'm only getting the attention of certain females, and I have kept that part of my power heavily muted with a suppression seal. Sarutobi chuckled. Still, I never thought I'd hear you complain about gaining a group of girls that like you. Naruto flushes slightly despite himself. I'm not really complaining, it's just a little strange going from being hated by them at one time to having them all want to date me all of a sudden. So far I've just been acting by instinct alone. I'm not sure how I feel since I have nothing to really go by. Naruto. Sarutobi said in a grandfatherly tone. What do you like about the girls? What do you feel when you're around them? Naruto frowned. Hinata is shy and demure, though as I saw the other day she can be quite fierce. Sakura, once out of fangirl mode, is really great to be around, a girl next door type. Ino is a lot like Sakura but bossy and flirty added to it. Tenten is a bit of a tomboy, has good skills, is very kind and has a need to be touchy-feely at times. Naruto paused for a moment as he gathered his thoughts. I like each of them for their own unique personality traits and quirks. They accepted me, which still surprises me, and none of them care that I'm a Hanyu. I can't really describe the feeling I get around them, it varies with each one, yet it is very similar to what I felt when Q-chan was still with me. It's a warm feeling, almost content or complete feeling. Does any of this make any sense to you? Naruto asked, looking slightly confused. Sarutobi just smiled. One last question, you would die for them, correct? Naruto nodded without hesitation. Then, to keep them happy, would you live for them? He asked. Naruto opened his mouth to answer but stopped as several things clicked into place in his mind. Sarutobi watched as various emotions played across Naruto's face until stunned realization formed. The old man smiled. He knew if given the right motivation and questions, Naruto would begin to figure things out and his emotions would properly set. Now for the finisher. Imagine your life with them, and then imagine it without them, how you would feel if you lost one, if not all of them, or never knew them at all. Sarutobi said. Imagining his life with the girls all together with him was much easier than Naruto thought it would be and even caused a small smile to touch his lips. Then unbidden the rest of Sarutobi's words forced his mind to see his life without them. Any of them. At first it was losing them which made him pale and then it was not knowing them at all which left an empty feeling in him. He vividly remembered the pain he felt after he lost Kyuubi in the future, when adding Sakura, Hinata, Tenten and Ino as they were now into that mix it made him feel horribly ill. It was bad enough he'd seen them all die once already. He had to remind himself that they were still here and the future he came from could be prevented this time. I see you finally understand. Sarutobi said. But how? Isn't it impossible to have feelings like these so soon? Shouldn't we be a tad too young or at least they be too young? Naruto asked, not denying them. The heart is a fickle if not complex thing, my boy. You have no choice in what it wants, no one does. For you this is a chance to regain what you lost. You must remember that you are from the future. You knew these young ladies for a lot longer time than they have known you. Somewhere buried in your heart you had feelings for each of them and now that you have gotten a second chance your heart is unlocking those feelings, hence your confusion. You don't live as long as I have without learning a few things about life and that to that affect the heart. As for age, it's very common for ninja to have relationships early in life due to our dangerous lifestyle, most marry by 16. The elderly man stated. Naruto calmed himself and thought it over. The old man was right, even with time travel Sarutobi was still older and still wiser than he was. Naruto had spent so much of his life hiding and bottling up his emotions, especially since the loss of Kyuubi, that he had forgotten how to properly feel them. His confusion was a result of that because his heart was telling him one thing and his mind another, and he hadn't truly listened to his heart in a long, long time. Hey, kinda ironic isn't it, Ji-san, for all the power I have obtained, all of the experiences and battles I've fought. I forgot how to listen to my own heart. I've spent so much time listening only to my mind and logic I forgot that not everything can be done that way, and the girls forced my emotions to come back out and it confused me because it lacked the logic my mind provided. Naruto mused. Then count it a blessing that you never completely locked out your emotions. By leaving your baser emotions alone it made it easier for your deeper emotions to break through. Now the question is, what do you plan on doing? Sarutobi asked. I am not going to risk losing them again, not a snowball's chance in hell, been there, hated it. But I'm not about to jump into things blindly either. I think it's time I go speak to Hiashi and find out what he has planned and go from there. Since I'm still not too sure of things cause I lack experience I think I'll let the girls move things at their own pace but add my own opinion from time to keep things from going out of control. Naruto replied. That is a good idea my boy and I wish you luck. Sarutobi smiled. Later that day, Naruto walked down the streets of Konoha, ignoring the usual glares, as his mind washed over what he had learned earlier. He still wanted to take things slow but due to his complete lack of previous relationships save for Kyuubi he opted to just let the girls go at their own pace. He wasn't sure how that would go with Sakura, Ino and Tenten but he was pretty sure that before the day was out he'd be engaged to Hinata, which suited him fine. As it was he had an appointment to speak with Hiashi in about an hour as it was. He viewed the area he was in with disdain. It was the slums and close to his old home. The more unsavory people of Konoha lived in this area, though some, like himself had no choice since it had been here are the streets. Naruto's progress halted when he felt a slight flare-up of tainted chakra mixed with normal chakra. He frowned. He knew the feel of that chakra, it was from a cursed seal. Turning down the dark alley he was sensing it from he saw Anko on her knees clutching at her shoulder and hissing in pain as a drunk stood over her. Now Naruto knew that she could easily handle the drunk but when the cursed seal acts up it leaves a person weakened if they fought it, and she was fighting it. Hey, lookish like the, hick. Hubby schlutish havin' trouble, haha. The drunk slurred as he began inching towards her. Naruto walked up behind the drunkard and tapped on his shoulder. The idiot stumbled his way around only to see a fist incoming and then blissful darkness. He landed about 10 feet away at the other end of the alley out cold. Naruto then turned his attention to Anko and the seal which was writhing on her shoulder. Anko looked up still wincing in pain as Naruto came into view. She was surprised to see a look of genuine concern on his features. I got rid of the drunk. How long has it been acting up, Anko-san? He asked. For about 2 hours, more frequent than usual. She said through gritted teeth. Let me see it. I am a seal master. Naruto said in a soothing tone. Not usually trusting of others but wanting rid of the pain, Anko removed her hand to better show the seal. Naruto looked it over as his Omnigan activated. Like the cursed seals he had seen in the future, this one had made a separate core of tainted chakra, but unlike the others, this one didn't contain those odd enzymes that twisted people's cell structure. It was incomplete, meaning that Anko had likely been used to test it when she had been branded with it. This made it possible to remove, since unlike the others, this one hadn't forced a bond to her soul or had screwed with her genetics, though it was obvious that the hubby Tem could still control it like one of the Hyuga caged bird seals, probably where he got the idea from while combining it with a bastardized version of the mating mark that demons used, hence his biting of the victim. Hold still. I can remove the seal, but it is going to burn. Naruto said, going through hand seals at a rapid pace. But I thought that it couldn't be removed. Anko said, shocked. Yours is an incomplete version of the seal. Likely the hubby Tem used you to test it out on, since this one hasn't bonded to your soul, it can be removed. Naruto answered as his hands began glowing crimson. Do it. Anko closed her eyes and gritted her teeth. I'm sorry for the pain you're about to feel. Naruto said softly. Seal arts. Dark seal disruption. A seal with the kanji for destruction appeared on Naruto's hand and he placed it over the cursed seal and muttered release. This in turn caused the seal on his hand to shatter the one on her shoulder before fading off his palm. Now he had to get rid of the tainted chakra. This one was going to draw quite a bit of chakra. Thankfully, without the seal there, the chakra couldn't regenerate. He began running through more seals as beads of sweat appeared on his brow. The red glow was replaced by soft white and gold. Light release. Divine purification jutsu. Naruto intoned and began pumping Anko's body full of purifying energy. This is where the pain started, as the light chakra forced the tainted cursed chakra out of her body via the tenketsu points while destroying the core it had made near her shoulder. Anko's tenketsu opened wider than usual as sickly purple chakra expelled from her body and faded out. To her credit, she didn't cry out in pain, but she did let out a few whimpers. Naruto didn't blame her. This technique worked great but hurt like hellfire. As soon as the last of the tainted chakra was out of Anko's system, Naruto prepared a few more hand seals as his hands turned to a soft green glow. Mystical palm jutsu, he said, and began using it to both heal her tenketsu and relieve her pain. The difference between his variant and Tsunade's was that hers was used to heal wounds, his could do that as well as relieve pain, though the side effect was that it left the recipient sleepy. Anko felt a wave of warmth wash over her as a sudden need to sleep hit her. She could hardly believe that Naruto, of all people, got rid of the thing that had cursed her since she had it forced on her. Her elation, though, was drowned out by her need to sleep. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Anko said sleepily before passing out. Naruto caught her before she could slump to the ground and effortlessly picked her up bridal style. He smiled at her for a moment. Glad I could help. Now get some well-deserved sleep. He said quietly and vanished in a flurry of burning leaves. After dropping off Anko at the Hokage Tower, which had been interesting, Kurenai practically crushed his spine when she hugged him and thanked him profusely for helping her best friend. Naruto just told her that he would do the same for anyone who had that curse inflicted upon them, and if it pissed off a certain snake pedophile, all the better. Asuma had laughed heartily at the comment. Since it was nearly time for Naruto's meeting with Hiashi, he decided to element port rather than walk or run. He liked this variant of shunshin he made mainly because it looked cool, but it also scared the shit out of people who didn't expect it, hence the Hyuga guards nearly pissing themselves when he appeared in a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder. It was good to be a prankster, no. After regaining their composure, barely, the two guards let him in as usual. He was then led into the main house meeting room by one of the maids that belonged to the branch family. Sitting there waiting for him was Hiashi, Hinata and Hanabi. Hinata was just finishing up making some tea as he entered into the room. Good afternoon, Hiashi Dono, Hinata-chan. Hanabi-chan. Naruto greeted and gave a polite bow which was returned. Would you like some tea, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked shyly. Thank you and yes, that would be nice. Naruto replied using the manners he had learned in his previous timeline. As Naruto took his seat, Hinata quickly fixed him a cup of tea and placed it in front of him before taking her own seat next to him. She flushed slightly as she kept shooting glances at him. Hanabi was too, but she seemed more interested in glomping his tail. Have you come to a decision then, Naruto-san? Hiashi asked, getting to the point. Mostly. I would like to hear your reasons for wanting me to marry both of your daughters. I have a suspicion as to why, but I would like a confirmation, then we can go from there. Naruto stated and took a sip of tea. Very well. Hiashi sighed. I know you're aware of the divide between the main and branch houses. For years I have tried to abolish this as it caused me to lose my twin brother and alienate my nephew. But the clan elders refused to listen to reason and unite the two branches of the Hyuga. They even have forced me to work my daughter harder than need be and act cold to strengthen her, all under the threats of the seal or punishing my nephew. As you know, Hinata is the heir, but the elders want me to banish her to the branch house because they do not believe she is strong enough to one day lead the clan. They want Hanabi to take her place. Now I'll be damned before I put either of my daughters in the branch house or have that damned seal placed on them. It's bad enough my nephew has it. I refuse to let either of my daughters become little more than slaves, and Kami only knows what some of those old perverts would do. At first I had planned to marry Hinata to another clan heir so that she could avoid such a fate. Sadly there are few I would agree with considering. When the council was told of your unique circumstances, and since I knew Hinata liked you, I thought it would be for the best if we could work something out. The elders might not like the idea, but with your status they cannot do anything other than complain either. As for Hanabi, they only want her to become heir and eventually clan leader because she is female, and that gives them a bit more control of her and who she marries. Sadly it is the men that are prized above the women of this clan. I doubt that either of my daughters would make a good clan head simply because the elders will be completely against them and try to find ways to manipulate them. Hiashi explained. Naruto frowned. Councils and elders these days seem to think they hold all the power, don't they? I know for a fact that the village council, well, most of the civilians and elders, want to arrange my marriages. Once again with the damn control issues. Bunch of corrupt bastards. Indeed. That is why I wanted you to wed both my daughters, if for nothing else than to save them from the fate of being the elders' puppets, slaves and/or trophies for the husbands of their choosing. Hiashi paused for a moment and noticed Naruto grinding his teeth. He smiled. Also, this would allow me, as clan head, to name my own successor. I would like my nephew, Neji, to take over as head of the clan so I can remove the caged bird seal from him. I feel I owe him and my brother that much at least. Nice plan, Hiashi Dono. With that you would effectively keep your daughters safe and unite the main and branch houses, and according to village law, since that proceeds over clan laws, the elders can't do anything, though I am sure they will still try to place the seal on Hinata-chan and Hanabi-chan, though I have a solution to that problem. I am a seal master after all. Naruto said. Hiashi and his daughters looked interested at this. The caged bird seal had been the bane of the branch house for generations. It is a seal my father had been working on. I discovered it in his notes and finished it. Naruto started. It is called the blood binding seal. It is a seal that prevents bloodline limits from being stolen or used by force, and when the wearer of the seal dies, the seal ensures their Kekkei Genkai goes with them, making things like eye theft impossible whether they are dead or alive. It acts like a caged bird seal would, but doesn't have the nasty little add-ins that the elders seem to favor. The seal cannot cause pain or make the wearer subservient, it just protects their bloodline, nothing more, nothing less. Hiashi was incredibly impressed. Are you certain this seal would work, and is it easily used? Naruto nodded. I'm positive the seal will work. Father actually had the entire workings for it down, just not put together. I finished it and added a twist to it so that the seal bonds to the recipient's soul and blood so that it cannot be removed. I am so sure of the seal I am willing to have it placed on myself to prove the point. He added the last part to ensure his faith. The seal itself is easily placed. It needs to be placed on your back, between your shoulders though rather than your forehead. Once the seal is drawn on, just add your chakra to it to activate and the seal will do the rest, since it is designed to bond instantly to the recipient. Once activated, it will respond to their chakra rather than the chakra from an outside source. So, does this mean you will accept my offer then? Hiashi asked hopefully. Naruto went silent for a moment and noticed the both sisters turn to him and give him a hopeful gaze. Hinata he could understand. Hanabi confused him a bit. I will accept on the grounds that at any point in time, if either Hinata-chan or Hanabi-chan want out of the engagement or betrothal bond, that they be allowed to but remain under the care and protection of both the Hyuga and Uzumaki clans. Naruto said, and then turned to Hanabi, who was practically bouncing in her seat. Might I ask why you suddenly like me so much, Hanabi-chan? You don't know very much about me. He asked. She blushed. Your eyes, she muttered. They hold much sadness but purity at the same time. Naruto looked a bit stunned, quite perceptive for one so young. Hinata decided to add her to Ryo. Hanabi-chan and I have been prepared for many years, knowing that we both might end up marrying the same man. At first we had feared it to be Uchiha-san, since that is what the elders wanted. Hiashi let out a hiss at the name. Naruto agreed with him completely. I was terrified because I don't like him. I like you. But when father found out about your status, we hoped that you would consider it. She said shyly. I understand, Naruto said and chuckled lightly. I had actually planned on asking for permission to date you anyways. Hinata smiled and turned a nice shade of pink. We don't need to go into any large details right now. I can see that you both like me and I am honored. I do care for you, Hinata-chan, very much so. Thump. And I had thought you got past your fainting spells too. Naruto chuckled and turned to Hanabi. I don't know you as well as I do your sister, but I am willing to get to know you better. I can't honestly say that I love you just yet, but give it time. As such, if you still want to be betrothed to me, I will be honored to accept. Naruto said. Hanabi let out a delighted squeal and glomped onto Naruto. Does this mean I get to be your girlfriend, Naruto-kun? She asked excitedly. If that is what you wish, though due to your age things will need to progress at a slower rate. I am willing to wait if you are, though. He said kindly. Hanabi just smiled and cuddled up to Naruto. Thank you, my boy. Not only have you made my daughters very happy, but you have helped this clan in many ways this day. Hiashi said with a slight bow. I would have helped even without the offers of marriage. My father did all in his power to protect this village, including making me a human sacrifice that in the long run ended up being a blessing. In turn, I too will do what I can to protect this village and all within it. Even if I don't not become Hokage, I will still work to become the most powerful shinobi in this world and protect those precious to me. Being Hokage is a nice dream, but without my precious people to share it with, then it becomes an empty ambition. Naruto said honestly. Hiashi was quite moved at the short speech. He was amazed with the boy. At first he had been neutral towards him and then watched as he was not only named the successor to the fourth but a Hanyu as well. Then he destroyed the stereotype of all things demonic were evil when he in his own demonic form fought Fang and Claw against a five-tailed demon scorpion, protecting not only his daughter and nephew but a great deal of others as well. To that effect, Hiashi still couldn't understand why so many still held the boy in contempt or how he could just turn the other cheek. But one thing was obvious: Naruto had all the makings of a Hokage greater than any before him, and he, Hiashi, would help him reach that goal if at all possible. Hiashi then noticed Hinata was starting to wake. "Hanabi, I believe your sister and betrothed have some things to discuss. Would you like to come with me to the Hokage Tower to set up the marriage arrangement and betrothal bond?" he asked. Hanabi pouted a bit but understood. She lifted herself up and pecked Naruto on the cheek and giggled as he blushed slightly. She didn't even realize that she too was blushing. Hiashi let another smile grace his features. He was glad to see his daughters so happy. Perhaps now he could drop the damn cold act he had to put up because of the elder Hyuga council. Taking his youngest daughter's hand, he walked out of the room to give the two teens some privacy. Hinata looked at Naruto, all her shyness returning as she poked her fingers together for a few minutes before she forced her shyness down. Naruto smiled at this. He knew it took a lot for her to muster her courage. "Are you feeling better now, Hinata-chan?" he asked. She nodded shyly. Did you really mean it? Do you really like me?" she asked timidly. Naruto gently placed his finger and thumb under her chin and brought her face up so he could look at her in the eyes. Pale lavender met sapphire blue, and though feral they held a certain tenderness. "I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it. I never go back on my word, and you know that. I know the circumstances we are in are a little strange, but I do care deeply for you. I just want you to be happy," Naruto said softly. Hinata was transfixed. She could hardly believe that one who could be so powerful, so strong and so terrifying could also be so gentle and attentive. She had always known that there was something special about Naruto, something that no other man could hope to match, and now she was certain he was one of a kind. As she looked into his eyes, she found herself caring less and less about the fact that she had to share him. His eyes spoke to her. They said that he would protect her and any others who became a part of his family, that they would be loved equally. "I am happy," Hinata whispered in a slight daze. "I've always dreamed of this. I've loved you for a long time." Naruto smiled, feeling truly happy. No one had told him that they loved him since Kyuubi had vanished in the previous timeline. He had thought that he would be stuck spending the rest of his eternal existence alone, but now he knew that was a groundless fear. "I love you too, Hinata-chan," Naruto said. He then leaned forward and placed a simple kiss on her lips. It was slightly innocent, but the feeling within it was never lacking. Happy tears sprung into Hinata's eyes as she snaked her arms around the boy, the man that she loved with all her being. She now realized that for once, this wasn't a dream and she didn't have to fear waking up to a cold, harsh reality. The kiss broken, Hinata cuddled up to Naruto. He pulled her onto his lap and rested his head on top of her own as he laced his fingers with hers. He had so longed to feel this and was miffed at himself for nearly thinking himself out of a golden opportunity. His past, mental age and previous fears no longer mattered. That was then, this was now. He had the power and the skill to protect them, and now he had even more reason to do so. Kyuubi would always be his first love, and he would be glad when she finally returned to him. Hinata was the first love of his new life, and others would soon follow, and for once, he wasn't so apprehensive, not when it felt this good, not when it felt so right. Shinigami sighed as he sat in his throne as a glowing orb with an ethereal humanoid form hovered up next to him. The form was that of a young woman. Long flowing crimson locks, silky cream-colored skin, rich emerald green eyes with slit crimson pupils, whisker marks on her cheeks, a pair of black-tipped crimson furred ears on her head, and 6 black-tipped furry crimson tails flowing behind her. She had a body that could only be described as human perfection, a generous bust, slim hips and curves in all the right places. Before them was a large orb and the image within it was of Naruto holding the young Hyuga heiress Hinata. Each had content smiles on their faces. I wish, Naruto-kun, could have waited for me to come back, but I am glad to see him happy again. Kyuubi said with a slight pout. Shinigami chuckled. I wouldn't worry, Kyuubi, you still and always will have a place in that kid's heart. He misses you very much, you know. I know, I miss him too. He was the first and only man, human or otherwise, that I ever loved. I don't mind sharing him. It's common amongst demons to take multiple mates, especially the alphas, and Naruto-kun is definitely an alpha. I just wish the restoration would hurry. Kyuubi said as she continued to watch longingly. It will be soon. Kami and I have sped up the process, and your own desires to be reunited with him have moved things along much faster. So much so that the process should be finished within a few more days' time rather than the month we had first thought. Shinigami stated. Good. I need to be back with him. He has a long hard road ahead of him, and it will take me and those other girls that love him to help him through it. This time I can help him more. I will be able to really touch him instead of his astral self. She said as a whisper. Shinigami sighed. You are right about the trials he must face. If it were only just the Uchihas, Orochimaru and the Akatsuki that were his problem. I fear that he will one day be released from his prison. Kyuubi cringed and stiffened in fear. There was only one being that he could be referring to, a dark god that was the embodiment of evil. He went by many titles. Deathbringer, Lord of Anarchy, God of Chaos, his name was Xanthus. But how? I thought he was sealed for all eternity in the abyss. Kyuubi exclaimed. He is, for now. Kami and I sealed him ourselves, but the key and the lock have long since been lost in the mortal realm. Someday, some fool human might find a way to release him, and then only Naruto will stand a chance of defeating him. Kami even gave him her blessing, making his Reaper form as much a part of him as his demon side. I am not sure just what gifts she gave him, all I know is that there are 3 of them. But all that power is only as strong as his will to protect those he loves. Pray that Xanthus is never released and he continues to remain sealed into the void, never to return. Shinigami answered. Kyuubi just nodded. All she could do was hope that Xanthus would never be released. The only small comfort she had was that the chances of a human ever finding both lock and key and then figuring out how to use them were extremely rare and highly unlikely. As it was, she chose not to worry about a matter that may never come to light and just look forward to the day she would wake up next to the man she loved. Her own second chance was soon at hand and she embraced it happily. By the next morning, the marriage arrangement and betrothal bond between the 2 Hyuga heiresses and the Kazama clan heir was quite well known. Of course, the more ignorant souls of Konoha were calling out for Naruto's blood since he had somehow bewitched the Hyuga clan. The elders of the Hyuga clan were none too pleased by this new development, but they were also scared. After all, who wanted to try to fight a guy that killed a 5-tailed demon scorpion? The more sensible people in the village were quite happy with this. Though some of his fan base had been upset that he was taken, thankfully it wasn't very common knowledge of just how many wives he could have. There were 3 certain girls though that had interesting reactions. They were happy, depressed and worried all at the same time. Ino, Sakura and Tenten were happy that Hinata got her chance, depressed that it wasn't them and worried that it might never be them either. Naruto, however, had gone, in private, to a special jeweler that Sarutobi had told him of the previous night when he went to sign his part of the marriage arrangement and betrothal bond. The shop carried some of the finest jewelry in all of the elemental countries, and the owner was a kindly old man who had been making master works for more than 6 decades, named Hiro Yamada. Sarutobi's story had been true. Naruto, with a letter from the Hokage, went to the shop early in the morning intent on getting Popper symbols for Hinata and Hanabi. Hers would be given to her in the future. However, the man had such an interesting collection that Naruto bought rings for the other girls in case things went well with them. If not, he could always figure out something later. He even bought a piece for himself that was a dragon wrapped around a yin-yang symbol in form of a medallion. He also got gold chains for each of the girls so their rings could be placed on them. He knew he might be jumping the gun with 3 of the rings, but his instincts told him to buy them. For Hinata, he got a platinum ring carved to look like vines, and on the top a purple amethyst was fixed in the shape of a lotus bloom. Hanabi got a similar one, only the bloom was an orchid and made of sapphire. For Ino, he found a ring with various types of gold made to look like roses in the shape of a ring, and in the center was a blue topaz that looked like her eyes. For Sakura, he found a ring with her namesake tree carved into each side in gold, and on the top was a setting for 3 pink tourmaline stones going from small to large in the shape of cherry blossom petals. Tenten was a bit harder to find one for, but he did find one that fit her. It was a simple platinum band with 3 gold kanji etched into it for beauty, courage and wisdom. After acquiring the specified items and paying the proper amount of ryo, Naruto promised the elderly jeweler that he would bring any future business he had to him. Later that morning saw Hinata proudly walking to meet her team with her ring on a gold chain around her neck, her face still flushed from thanking him for nearly 10 minutes. She had giggled when he left, mumbling about cold showers and girls more mature for their age than they should be. Ino sat in her family's shop completely bored out of her mind and slightly fussing in her mind about the new situation with Naruto. To this day she could still remember him as a little kid running around in orange shorts and a white t-shirt chasing bullies away from her and Sakura. She idly wondered if he remembered those times. She and Sakura had never forgotten him. They had been 6 years old when they first met. Naruto had protected Sakura from a genin bully, and got the crap beaten out of him in the process. They had tried to make fun of Ino too, and Naruto had defended her as well. After that they became friends and played a couple of times until a group of villagers chased him off, throwing stones at him and calling him a demon. Sakura's mom had been included at that time, something the woman still regretted to this day. After that Naruto seemed to change. He dropped his usual kind and brave self and turned into an annoying idiot. He always played pranks, took nothing seriously, and let his grades slip at the academy. Sakura had been forbidden to ever speak to him unless forced to, citing that he was a bad kid who would hurt her and Ino. As the years passed, the 2 girls went on with their lives, never forgetting the Naruto they met but hating the one he turned into. Ino had been the most disappointed. She had a crush on him when they first met. Now that they knew the truth behind Naruto and his secrets, they knew he did what he did to protect them. Naruto had learned early on in his rather dismal life that having friends was something he would never gain. As such, he spent an entire childhood alone, no friends, no family, and a lot of hate, anger and resentment. It made Ino sick that she had nearly followed down that path. Had Naruto not dropped the act that one day and showed everyone just what kind of person he was, she shuddered to think where she might have ended up, still a damn fangirl most likely. Spending time and getting to know him over the past couple of weeks had been bliss for the young Yamanaka. It didn't take long for her old crush to reignite and grow from there. They always talked a lot when he came by to train or help around the shop. Like her, he had quite the green thumb and a appreciation of plants. He did go beyond that though, as he had a lot of knowledge concerning medicinal herbs, poisonous plants and eatable plant life as well. He was practically a walking, talking herbology guide. Idly, she wondered if he would stop by today. As if summoned by her thoughts, said Hanyu walked into the shop dressed in his casuals, blue jeans, black sneakers, his belt with the utility pouches on them and a black tank top. His tail and thick braid of hair swaying behind him, and in his hand a bag holding a thermos and some food. Naruto-kun, what brings you by here? Ino asked excitedly. Everyone else was busy today, so I thought I'd drop by for lunch. Naruto said, holding up the bag. Nothing fancy though, just some rice balls, dango, egg rolls and a few pot stickers with some green tea. Ino let out a playful pout. Ah, I was hoping you were going to give me a gift like you did Hinata. Naruto chuckled. News sure gets around fast in this village. So, you're not mad? Not really. Just a little disappointed. I wanted to date you too. Ino answered. Naruto sighed. Ino-chan, you know my circumstances. Just because I'm engaged to Hinata-chan and betrothed to Hanabi-chan doesn't mean we can't date. Naruto said, placing the bag on the counter only to get tackled by Ino a second later. Do you mean it? She asked hopefully. No, I used to be mean to you and all, but I was. She was silenced by Naruto putting his finger on her lips. It's in the past and I don't hold a grudge unless there is a damn good reason for it, and being teased because of immaturity is not one of those reasons. If you want to date officially, then I would be honored, and in time if you still want to be with me, I would be happy to accept you as part of my clan and future. Naruto said. Ino's aqua blue eyes looked into Naruto's icy sapphire blue and saw that he spoke only the truth and that he had feelings for her. Perhaps not as strong as what he felt for Hinata or maybe Sakura, but definitely for more than a friend. She found herself quite transfixed as she looked into his eyes, amazed at how expressive they could be when he let them show it. As if on instinct alone, she tilted her head up, her face nearing his almost if drawn to it. Naruto took notice, a small smile on his lips, and closed the distance to give her what she seemed to want so badly. As soon as their lips touched, Ino felt a thrilling shock surge through her body. Opening her mouth slightly to deepen the kiss caught Naruto slightly off guard, but he reciprocated anyways, idly noticing that she tasted of apples and cinnamon. Ino let out she had expected Naruto to taste of ramen but got mint and tea instead, and he was making her toes curl rather nicely. This wasn't her first kiss. She had kissed Shikamaru once, and to her embarrassment, Sakura, as a dare. Kissing Naruto, however, was a whole different level of an experience, and she honestly doubted anyone else could compare. The kiss broke for the need of fresh air. Ino was flushed pink in the cheeks with a glazed, half-lidded look in her eyes. Naruto almost laughed. Hinata looked the same way the previous day. Maybe he wasn't so bad at this romance thing after all. And to think, I just came here for lunch. Naruto chuckled. Oh, if I could, I'd give you more than lunch. Bad Ino, not the time to have perverted thoughts, at least not yet anyways, hehehehe. Ino giggled in her mind. So, does this mean I can be your girlfriend, Whiskers? Ino asked playfully. I would think that the answer was kinda obvious, Ino-chan. Naruto said with a half smile. Nice to see you two getting along so well. So when's the date set? A feminine voice asked from behind them with a snicker. Ino flushed beetroot. Mom! She cried out at being caught. Ino reluctantly pulled herself away from Naruto. The woman was Amami Yamanaka. She looked like a slightly older version of Ino with the same color eyes but with sandy blonde hair in contrast to the platinum blonde hair that her husband and daughter sported. She also had the same personality as Ino but with a more maternal side to it, and a Sakura-like temper if pissed off. Thankfully Naruto had never seen it. Busted. Naruto thought, slightly amused. Good afternoon, Amami-san, how are you today? Naruto asked politely. The older woman smiled at the two. I'm doing just fine. Naruto-kun, congratulations on your engagement to the Hyuga heiress. Would my daughter perhaps be the next one for your harem? She teased. Naruto's face twisted in a slight scowl. I dislike that word. I'm not building a harem. I'm making a family. Harems usually consist of a group of women that serve a master. I loathe that. I refuse to play favorites, and all the women I will be with will eventually be married to me and will be treated with the respect they are due. Amami smiled. So did Inoichi, who was sitting on the top of the stairs. They had thought highly of the boy before, but now he had their full approval. Ino had another glazed look covering her face, which was amusing considering Sasuke never had this much of an effect on her. That's nice to know. We can't be too careful with our little girl now. Amami said. Naruto nodded in understanding. If he had a daughter, he'd probably kill any male that came within 10 feet of her unless he approved of them. Ino snapped out of her mental bliss as something she had been wanting to ask Naruto suddenly crossed her mind. Hey, Naruto-kun, I heard from Sakura that you've been teaching her elemental jutsu and manipulations. Do you think you could teach me some? Ino asked using her patented big-eyed pout jutsu. Naruto chuckled. That won't work on me, Ino-chan, but I did plan on seeing what your element was anyways. He pulled out a card from his belt pouch. Pump a little of your chakra into this card and we'll find out. Half of the card burst into flames while the other half crinkled up. Huh. Well damn. First Sakura-chan is a water-earth type with the possibility of learning wood elements in the future. Hinata-chan was a water-wind type. Meaning she might be able to learn ice element jutsu, and now Ino-chan is both fire and lightning. I might be able to teach her a few fire, lightning fusion jutsu when she gets strong enough. The strange thing is, the girls seem more powerful this time around. Oh well, I'll just help them best as I can. Naruto thought as he studied the card. Well, Ino-chan, you have fire and lightning affinities. I know quite a few jutsu for each, and I have made a few fusion jutsu I can teach you once you get your reserves and strength up higher. Naruto said. Inoichi walked down the stairs with a confused look on his features. Fusion jutsu? He asked. Naruto nodded. Hello, Inoichi-san, and yes, fusion jutsu. He started. I discovered that if you have more than one element and if you can meet the right conditions, you can make sub-element jutsu, which is basically a fusion of 2 of the 5 main elements. Wood element jutsu is a combination of water and earth elements with a high level of manipulation and control abilities. The first Hokage was gifted with this as part of his bloodline, but it can be recreated. Sakura-chan should be able to do wood jutsu once she gains a mastery over her elements. How many fusions are there? Amami asked. Naruto looked thoughtful. Ice for water, wind users, magma for fire, earth users, wood or as I prefer plant for water, earth users, and shadow for light, dark users. There is also a rare tri-element fusion called metal consisting of fire, water, earth users, but it is very rare for anyone to have more than 2 elements. I'm an exception to that rule because being a Hanyu gave me an affinity to all the elements, the price being that I'm only part human. He paused for a moment. Then there are fusions of elements that boost overall power like lightning, fire or fire, wind. To be honest, creating new jutsu isn't too hard if you know what you're doing and have good element manipulation and chakra control. All it takes is a bit of experimentation and a good imagination. Damn, and I thought our clan's mind jutsu were something special. Inoichi mumbled. Don't knock your own techniques, they are very good. The only mind jutsu I know is the memory copy jutsu. However, the Yamanaka clan was once known for its psionics, and that gift still resides within anyone of Yamanaka blood. All you need to do is try deep meditation and find the thread of chakra that links your core to your mind and try to find out what it is that has blocked the flow of mental or psi energy. Psi energy? Ino asked, confused. The body consists of 3 separate types of energies. Kai for body, Ki for soul, and Psi for mind. Kai and Ki when combined form a more potent and versatile energy called chakra. For most this happens automatically as they grow, hence chakra cores and coils. But since the discovery of chakra and its versatile uses, people have forgotten how to tap into pure Kai, Ki and Psi energies. But if one were to connect their chakra to their Psi, they would gain a much stronger and useful chakra, making a harmony of mind, body and soul. I also learned to do that and gained a few modest Psi skills such as teleportation, telekinesis and telepathy, though I still have to obey all the practical limits. I can't teleport to places I haven't been or anywhere beyond a 10-mile radius, and even that can be a strain sometimes. I can't use telekinesis to lift anything above 2 times my own body weight, and I can't use telepathy with another person unless they willingly allow me to create a telepathic link with them. All of this is made easier though by adding chakra. My Yuso Shunshin techniques are actually a modified teleport and Shunshin jutsu with element chakra and Psi energy added into it. Naruto lectured. The Yamanaka clan still uses a bit of psi energy in their clan jutsu since standard chakra wouldn't cut it, and the Yamanaka clan has a history of psionics. Your jutsus, however, specialize in invading the mind, controlling it, gathering information from it, or causing anything from intense confusion to waking nightmares. Naruto finished. How do you know all of this? Inoichi asked. Naruto decided a half-truth was better than a full-blown lie. When I absorbed Kyuubi's powers and abilities, I gained most of its knowledge as well as a few memories. It was actually kind of painful. Think of having several millennia of information suddenly crammed into your mind all at once, and then your mind automatically taking the task of sorting the information. If the human mind didn't work so fast, there was no telling just how long I would have had that migraine. Thankfully, I only had one for about a week straight. Though not being able to move really ed too, since my body was also making its adjustments at that time. What I got didn't come without a painful price, just remember that. Naruto stated. Inoichi cringed at the thought of that kind of headache. It would be likening to a slow torture to insanity. Meaning that Naruto not only had a diamond hard will but an intensely high tolerance to pain. Amami looked a little confused. She wasn't a kunoichi, so she didn't know much about how chakra and all those other things worked, but she had enough sense to know that Naruto had paid with a lot of pain to get the power he now had. An amazing feat considering how poorly he had been treated most of his life. Ino was just odd. Not only was her boyfriend hot, strong, and could kick major, but he was incredibly intelligent. She couldn't discount his other nice features either. After all, kindness, gentleness, and attentiveness went a long way with a girl too. I'll write of some scrolls on meditation and send them over with a shadow clone so you can work on strengthening your family jutsu. If you don't mind though, I'll train Ino-chan in that myself. Who knows, she might even come up with a few new jutsu of her own. Naruto offered and was promptly glomped by said teen girl. So much for our simple little lunch, huh? Naruto chuckled. Ino pouted. It's still early. We can still have some lunch. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment. His tail actually came up and rubbed the side of his head in a scratching motions, causing Ino and her mother to giggle at how cute the young Hanyu could be without realizing it. We could go to the park and make it a picnic if you want. Naruto offered. Amami smiled. That is a good idea. I will watch things here at the shop. Ino, go enjoy yourself with your new boyfriend. Ino blushed a bit but smiled and hugged her parents before dragging Naruto out of the door with the bag of goodies in tow. Their picnic date ended up being a wonderful experience for Ino, and she would look forward to future dates with her new boyfriend. 6 loud clangs rang through the air as 6 kunai fell at Naruto's feet in 2 pieces. Letting out a breath, he settled back onto his favorite stance. One of his katana resting on his right shoulder while the other was poised in front of him ready to block or attack at a moment's notice. His opponent let a smirk cross her lips. No one gave her this kind of challenge in Kenjutsu but him. It was invigoration, it was fun, it was a freaking turn on. Pulling out 6 shuriken and channeling some chakra into them, she began preparing for one of the new jutsu he had taught her. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. She called out as 6-bladed stars became 60. Naruto made Griever's fire element burst to life and performed one of his simpler special attacks. Flame Cutter. Several white-hot and burning blades of energy shot out as Naruto slashed his sword at the incoming threats. Most of them were incinerated as he dodged the rest. His opponent drew 2 swords of her own, a pair of scimitars, and dashed at him. Naruto pumped a bit of chakra into Beowulf, causing the blade to separate and fall limp before he lashed it out like a whip. The young woman parried and blocked the attack and struck with her free blade. The training ground was filled with the sounds of blades clashing as the 2 combatants continued to exchange blows in an amazing, beautiful but deadly dance of fluid movements and precise strikes. Naruto smiled. His opponent was good, very good for her age, but he was better due to have years more experience from his previous timeline. With a deft twist of his wrist from his left hand and a quick tug from his right, his opponent was disarmed. Griever, now back to normal, pointed at her throat signaling the winner. Tenten huffed as she looked at the slightly smug look on her newly appointed boyfriend's features and pouted a bit. She hated losing a spar, but she also knew that Naruto was much better at swordsmanship than she was. She preferred distance attacks. She was no slouch with melee weapons either, but trying to outfight Naruto with swords was damn near impossible. Naruto re-sheathed his swords and smiled at Tenten. She, like Ino, expressed her desire to date him and he had no intentions of denying her. Though her idea of a sparring match to celebrate had been a little on the odd side, but Tenten was a bit of a tomboy. You're getting better, Tenten-chan. If you keep increasing your skills at this rate, you'll catch up to my level in no time. Naruto said proudly. Tenten blushed a bit at the praise. Thank you, Naruto-kun, but I doubt I could ever reach your level anytime soon. Perhaps, but you are very good in your own right and I've been training with swords for a long time. Naruto replied. Tenten tilted her head slightly in confusion. You're only 1 year younger than me and I've been training most of my life. I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone to gain your kind of skill in such a time frame, just highly improbable. But that still wouldn't explain your level of mastery, she said. Naruto frowned slightly. Tenten-chan, in time I will tell you, all of you, just how I became so powerful and skilled. A few already know, but that was because they needed to, otherwise it would have brought up too many questions. Don't you trust me enough to tell me? Tenten asked, sounding a bit hurt. No. That's not it at all. The other girls don't know either. I just don't think you'd believe me if I told you. It's not something I like to talk about, to be honest. Naruto said with a sigh. I understand, Tenten said, feeling a bit down. Damn, now she looks depressed. Should I tell her, or show her? Would she hate me? Naruto wondered. Please don't be upset. When the time comes I will tell all of you. I do trust you and I care about you deeply, but I'm just not ready to tell each of you that part about me yet, though it is my final secret. Can you wait until then? Naruto asked. Tenten gave him a small smile and hugged him. He readily returned the embrace as she nuzzled his neck. I can wait, Naruto-kun. I'm sorry if I pulled up bad memories, she said softly. Don't worry about it. I will likely have to explain soon enough anyways, so just be patient a little longer, okay? He asked. Her response was to kiss him, much like Ino had done earlier. His eyes widened slightly before he returned the kiss. He wasn't quite sure just what he was doing to make so many wonderful girls love him, but who was he to argue? After breaking the kiss, the two sat down and cuddled for a moment, Tenten sporting a light pink flush across her cheeks. Naruto also began blushing a bit as Tenten began stroking his tail. It felt good, perhaps a little too good. Glancing down, he noticed a growing bulge in his pants. Crap. Thankfully, Tenten remained blissfully unaware of his condition and Naruto was able to will it back down to a normal level of comfort. Things have changed so much. Sometimes I wonder if it is all real or if I am merely having some sort of dream. I never would have dreamed that any of these girls liked me, and yet now that I've gotten to know them better I get an oddly complete feeling. When Q-chan resurrects, then I will truly be complete. I've never really felt anything like this before. It's nice but scary at the same time. But now more than ever. I must prevent the future from happening. I can't lose what I've gained here. I have my precious people back and I am finally able to experience love more freely. For these girls, I will do all in my power to protect them. My kami have mercy on anyone who tries to hurt them, because I will not, and even Shinigami-sama will not hide them from my wraith. Naruto thought and vowed silently as he unconsciously hugged Tenten a little firmer. Tenten looked at the boy who had captured her heart and smiled at his gentle yet protective gesture. I can't believe how strong he is, yet he is so gentle. And his eyes. I could lose myself in them. I had always thought it was Neji that I loved, but Naruto-kun is really the one. I've only known him for a short while, yet it feels like a lifetime. He even treats me like a lady, unlike the other guys I've known or have in my life. The really strange thing is, I don't mind sharing him with the others. He has such a big heart, I doubt that just one of us would be enough to fill it anyways. Tenten thought blissfully as she rested against Naruto. She had always been one of the guys, but Naruto made her feel like a woman. Naruto stood by himself on top of his favorite perch on the Hokage monument. It was late at night now and he had come up not to enjoy the view but to test out his Reaper powers and form. Something he had been meaning to do for a few days now. He idly wondered if turning into his Reaper form would hurt as much as turning into his Werfox form did. Not that a little pain bothered him, but changing your whole physical form was far from a little pain. Thankfully he had an insane tolerance for pain. This only thing that bothered him was that to turn into a Reaper he had to deal with a whole different level of chakra. Human chakra was a combination of Kai and Ki, body and spirit, and as such considered a divine energy much like what Kami uses. Just not as such a pure form. Kyuubi's chakra was demon chakra. Though he had purified it of the evil taint it once had, it was still volatile to humans if not used properly and far too powerful for humans to handle in large amounts. Reaper chakra, however, was a whole different type. It was considered devil chakra because Shinigami was technically a devil, or what could be considered a rank above demon. Devil chakra was more chaotic than demon chakra was due to the fact that it focused solely on three elements: darkness, light and their fusion element shadow. As a Reaper he also gained control of powers unique to Shinigami and some devils, those being life and death energies, though limited, in things like hellfire, which was an element all its own since there were various types of it identified mainly by colors. Demon chakra and human chakra were focused on the five main elements and sometimes the sub-elements. They were easier to handle, depending on the creature or power levels, though some rules didn't apply. Kyuubi had been one of them because her power was so immense that she could have technically been ranked a devil and not a demon. But she was one of the Biju, a tailed demon beast, whereas devils are almost always humanoid in their base forms, whereas demons usually had to assume a human form. Well, here goes nothing. Naruto muttered and held out his right arm. Reap through all, soul edge. A burst of black fire hinted with silver and gold ripped out of the seal on his arm and formed a small ball of energy in the palm of Naruto's hand. He gripped it and the flames lengthened and flared out until soul edge appeared from them in all its glory. The weapon pulsed a greeting to its master. Naruto smiled at it. He then let it go and the weapon hovered in place waiting for Naruto to reclaim it. Naruto then began gathering the devil chakra within him, his body surrounded by an aura of purple and black flames with surges of gold and silver arcing across his body. As the energy hit its crescendo he realized how glad he was that he placed an anti-chakra seal barrier so no one could sense this. The energy was so potent that it was causing the stone beneath his feet to melt. Soul release. Avatar of Shinigami. Demonic Reaper ascend. Naruto barked out through gritted teeth. Naruto's body and muscle mass began to grow, but only slightly compared to his Werfox form, topping off at about 6 feet 9 inches. His skin darkened to a charcoal gray color and was littered with gold and silver tribal and Celtic runes. His tail lengthened and burst into black and purple fire. Blood spurted from a sudden slit on his forehead as a golden-colored eye opened with a silver pupil. It was a devil eye called the Jagan, giving him the ability to see into souls, judge them and torture them if he so wishes it. It held a number of nasty little things that it could do. Such as its doom gaze. A pair of horns sprouted out from the sides of his head and curved back as his hair turned a metallic silver color. 4 bursts of black and purple flames shot out from his back, incinerating the blood spattering, and was followed by a flurry of black feathers with silver highlights and gold feathers with crimson highlights. A pair of black feathered wings hooped out from his upper back while the golden feathered wings stretched out from his mid to lower back. Finally he opened his eyes. Black had replaced the whites of his eyes, his retina now deep purple and his slit pupils pulsing crimson. The whisker marks became solid gold slash marks, His fangs grew, making him appear like a vampire, and the claws on his hands turned silver but still as razor sharp as ever. His attire had changed as well. He wore no shirt to give his wings free rein to move. A long set of chains was crisscrossed across his torso, looped around his neck and as a belt around his waist. His jeans had been replaced with studded black leather pants and spiked boots, spikes set in on the boots' toes and a larger one on the back. The rest was otherwise studded to match his pants. On his arms was a pair of spiked gauntlets that led to fingerless black gloves with spiked knuckles. A black chain was wrapped around his neck in the form of a choker or collar. He didn't know which, though he did know that he could manipulate the chains on his body to act as he pleased, as the ends of the chains were armed with barbed spikes. As it was, he decided that this form was a delightful mix of bad and fearsome, a form that would make any being, human or demon, shake in fear. Perhaps I should test my wings, Naruto said, his voice holding a demonic timbre to it once again. Holding out his hand, Soul Edge hovered to its master's waiting grasp and gave out a few seemingly happy pulses at its master's new form. Naruto let a predatory grin cross his features, which would have made Shukaku shit himself if he saw it. Leaping up into the air, he began to flap his massive wings. He was surprised that he could do it on such an instinctual level, but credited it to Shinigami for adding such instincts to his mindset when in this form. As such, he found staying aloft to be not only easy but not tiring either. And thanks to his near limitless chakra levels, he felt no strain and very little depletion in this form. Though he was sure the strain would be worse if he was in battle, everything had their practical limits, even him. Deciding that now was a good time, Naruto took flight at a high rate of speed towards a destination 50 miles south of Konoha. 30 minutes later, he landed in front of a large mountain cave, a cave that had a single lost treasure within it, the fox summoning contract. Naruto walked into the cave, and about a mile back he came to a large stone chest. The cave itself was fairly barren, since Kyuubi only used this place to hide the summoning scroll, and to even an observant eye the stone chest looked to be just a boulder. Naruto placed his hand on the stone and pumped some of his demonic chakra into it. Red glowing demonic runes flickered for a moment before the chest opened to reveal a large red and gold trimmed scroll resting within it. After removing the scroll, the stone chest crumbled into rubble, its purpose having been served. Naruto quickly left the cave and took flight once again with the scroll safely tucked under his left arm. He flew straight for his compound, and once he landed he released his Reaper form so he didn't attract any attention. Feeling a bit sleepy from having such a long day, he quickly opened the scroll once he was in his bedroom, signed it with his blood and then closed it. He would summon a fox later to inform them and bring them up to speed of his status. Stripping to his boxers, he crawled into his bed and fell asleep within moments. It had been a long day. Several hours later, a glowing orb of light appeared hovering next to Naruto's sleeping form. The orb began growing and glowing red and gold as it began forming into a female form. The form was laid down next to him as the glow faded. The woman that appeared had blazing crimson locks that flowed like silk to her hips and 6 bushy and furry crimson furred tails with black tips. She had fox-like ears the same color as her hair and small black tips. 6 whisker marks covered her cheeks. Her shining emerald green eyes shone with delight and happiness as she wrapped her arms and tails around Naruto, a few tears leaking from her eyes and not caring that she was as the day she was born. Naruto shifted in his sleep and cuddled up to her, a small smile on his face. She smiled back and gave him a peck on his forehead. Naruto-kun, I'm back, and this time I won't leave you. I promise. I love you, she whispered and closed her eyes to join him in sleep. Resurrection was after all very tiring. As the early morning light filtered into Naruto's room from the sunrise, he began to stir. For the first time in many, many years he had slept great. He felt warm, safe and very comfortable. It felt almost as if a piece of him had returned. Not wanting to wake up just yet, his sleepy mind let him leave his eyes shut so he could just bask in the content comfort he was feeling at the moment. Kyuubi had also woke and was now partaking in something she would enjoy doing for centuries to come. Watching the man she loved in a peaceful state of sleep. A soft smile crossed her lips, her eyes watered, she was finally with him, somehow, someway she had been given another chance. Perhaps it was due to the favor Naruto held with both Kami and Shinigami, or perhaps it was just him, he had a power that not even the mightiest of demons could match. He had a power to not only change people but change things around him. She loved looking at his face, it was so handsome and feral. It was no wonder to her that those other girls had fallen in love with him once they got to see him as he truly is. Sure, she had her misgivings about a couple of them. Sakura and Ino, at first, but watching from Shinigami's realm she could see it in their eyes, the same love she held for him shined in their eyes as well. It was more than just the fact that he was an alpha male, much more than that. Naruto, deciding that he should get up, opened his eyes slowly and blinked a few times to adjust his vision. His icy blue eyes met a pair of eyes he had longed for many years to see again. The gears in his sleep-filled mind suddenly sprang into full action as he recalled Shinigami and Kami telling him. It's her. She's back. Her eyes are still just as beautiful as I remember them. Naruto thought as he gazed into her eyes. A happy smile crossed his lips as tears welled in his eyes. It had been so many years since he had shed a real tear, he had almost forgotten how. Shakily he raised his hand to her face and gently cupped her cheek. She smiled at him and nuzzled into his hand. KQ-chan. I missed you so much. Naruto said, his voice nearly not believing what his eyes and touch were telling him. And you, Naruto-kun. I feared I'd never see you again, but when you came back in time it made my soul fragments from the future combine with my soul from the past. They purified me and with the help of Shinigami and Kami granted me new life as a Hanyu. I'm back now, and I don't have to be stuck behind a seal. We can finally be together, we can finally touch. She trailed off as Naruto leaned up and kissed her deeply. Naruto absently noted that she was but at the moment couldn't bring himself to really care. He'd seen her before when she was in the seal, besides he'd have to get used to such things sooner or later anyways. Speaking of which, he was going to have to come clean. Q-chan, I have something I need to tell you. You know I love you, I do with all my heart, but Kyuubi stopped him with another kiss and pulled back a moment later and smiled. Naruto-kun, I already know and I approve of them and anyone else who might come in the future so long as they love you. She said softly. But, how? He asked, feeling very confused and a bit grateful at the moment. Shinigami-sama allowed me to watch from his realm. A couple of the girls came as a surprise, but I could tell that they love you very much even in the small amount of time they've gotten to know you. Besides, it is quite common for demon lords to take more than one mate. But I do have one request. She said. What do you wish? Naruto asked. I want to be your first mate. I know your body is young but your mind is not. I have waited for millennia to feel the touch of a man I could love, please do not make me wait anymore. She almost pleaded. She needed to know this was real. Naruto could sense her need, and if he was honest with himself, he needed her too. He knew what it meant to take her as a mate. They would give themselves to each other and bite the other's neck, creating a seal mark that signified their mating and soul bonds. It took every single ounce of his will to fight off the nosebleed that threatened to come. I will grant your wish. Naruto said softly, rolled on top of her and began kissing her passionately. For the next hour and a half various cries and of passion filled the manor as the two consummated their love. It took 2 lifetimes to get there, but they were finally united, mind, body and soul. As Naruto got dressed, Kyuubi, a bit sore from their activities, searched through some of the older clothes that had been left behind by his parents. She found a deep cobalt blue battle kimono, a emerald green obi, some fishnet shirts and leggings and some undergarments that were just about the right size for her. Naruto told her to help herself, so she put the clothes on. She left the kimono open a bit to show off some cleavage and display her mark, a Celtic Trinity rune with a small nine-tailed fox in the center with its tails spiraling behind it in the Uzumaki clan crest. Naruto's was the same, and anyone he marked in the future would gain the same mark on their neck. The greatest benefit of the mark was their new telepathic link that opened between them due to their souls bonding completely. This link had none of the normal bounds and could be used to speak to each other no matter the physical distance. It also ensured that so long as Naruto was alive, any of his bond mates would gain a fraction of his power in his ageless lifespan and youth. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do. Naruto chuckled a bit. I'll help you. I'm also coming with you from now on your missions. Kyuubi said. How are we going to pull that off, Q-chan? He asked. Simple. Since I began as a demon, I can still take the form of a fox. The reason why you can't is because you started off human. Kyuubi explained, and in a small flash of foxfire she turned into a small, kit-sized chibi Kyuubi with one tail. Her fur was the same color as her hair and she had the usual black tips on her ears and tail. See, I can even get bigger to aid you in battle like the Inuzukas use dogs. She said happily in an undeniably cute voice that sounded much like a 5-year-old version of her adult voice. Naruto chuckled. Even I have to admit you're a little too cute for your own good, Q-chan. The little fox let out a giggle and hopped up on Naruto's shoulder, perching there and wrapping her tail around him before ing his cheek. Naruto gave a small smile as he placed Beowulf and Griever onto his belt and adjusted his trench coat. Giving Kyuubi a quick scratch behind the ears, he prepared to flame port out of the room when a monkey appeared in a poof of smoke, handed him a scroll and vanished again. I wonder what Ji-san sent me. He mused and unsealed the scroll. Naruto. The man you asked me about a while back has finally arrived and is requesting AC rank. As such, it looks like it is finally time for you to take your mission to Wave Country. As per your request, no one else will take this mission and I will leave the safety of Tazuna-san up to you. There is, however, an additional mission I would like you to take while on this mission. Sealed at the bottom of this scroll is the bingo book you requested as well as your first A-rank mission. It has come to my attention that the former Konoha ninja, Aoi Rokusho, is in Wave, possibly working for Gato. Your mission is to terminate him and reclaim the Raijin sword. As a bonus, you may keep the Raijin to do with as you please. On to the final bit of news. In preparation for the Chunin exams in a few months and the still likely attack by Orochimaru, I have managed to convince my old student Tsunade to return for the exams. Jiraiya will likely come as well as he is due in Konoha around that time. I will see you and your team later after you have done the D-rank Kakashi-san picked up for you just moments ago. Akira Sarutobi, 3rd Hokage, Konoha. I was wondering when we would be going to Wave. Naruto muttered and unsealed his new bingo book and his A-rank mission scroll, giving him all the need-to-know information on Aoi Rokusho. The Raijin. I don't really need it, but I bet either Ino-chan or Tenten-chan could get good use of it. Ino would probably be better. If I remember correctly, she had an affinity to lightning and fire, right? Kyuubi asked, remembering some of what she watched in Shinigami's realm. Yeah. Though I best seal it after getting it. I wouldn't put it past Sasuke Tem to try stealing it since he has the same affinities. Naruto said as he placed the scrolls and bingo book in one of his belt pouches for spare items and scrolls. Let's get moving, Q-chan. Naruto said, and both he and Kyuubi vanished in the usual flash of fire. Sakura sat alone on the bridge to Training Ground 7. Sasuke, the brooding prick, was off brooding to himself as usual next to a tree, occasionally casting a scathing glare at her. Not that she even cared anymore. Though part of her really wanted to test her new skill on him, she had made a variation of chakra weapon that Naruto had taught her. Shuriken and kunai were pretty easy to make, but she wanted a more ranged weapon. Hence she worked for a week on making a chakra arrow. Her father had once been an archer, one of the best in Konoha, and he had left behind a special bow when he died. The bow was made of specially treated wood and string that conducted and channeled chakra. It even had 2 chakra crystals on each end to act as cores. Her father used them to channel chakra into his arrows to make them more effective. She discovered that was fairly simple, but then she experimented and discovered she could manifest arrows made of pure chakra, water or stone with relative ease and little drain on her stores. Once she got a better hold on her abilities and became a better shot, she could help the team much better with both her blossoming taijutsu skills and now her ranged skills. This was great and all, but she couldn't help feeling a little depressed with the past few days' events. So far all of her friends, even Ino, had managed to bump their way into Naruto's heart. Hell, Hinata and her sister were guaranteed weddings in the future. She had thought for sure with all the time she spends with him, training or otherwise, that she would have been one of the first. Granted, she hadn't seen him in 2 days due to having to do things at home with her mother or run errands. It still hurt though, and in a way she knew she deserved it. She had been the worst of them all when it came to how he was treated. But she had really been trying to prove to him that she wasn't that person anymore. She was pulled from her thoughts as Naruto appeared in a flash of fire, and perched on his shoulder was probably the cutest little fox kit she had ever seen. She gave him a slightly forced smile and then continued to look at the waters under the bridge. Naruto frowned as a concerned look crossed his features. He knew that look all too well, having used it many times in his life. Naruto-kun, I think she feels left out and is hurting. I can sense her emotions. She loves you, but she doesn't think you love her back. With all the things that have happened in the past couple of days, I haven't been able to talk to her. Q-chan, why don't you go stretch your legs for a minute while I fix this? Kyuubi gave him a quick nuzzle on the cheek and hopped off, padded up to Sakura and looked at her for a moment and rubbed up against her leg in hopes of cheering the girl up. Despite popular belief, Kyuubi was a strong empath and hated seeing others in pain. It was part of the reason that her previous sealing had been all the more tragic. Sakura smiled a bit and let out a coo at the cute little critter in front of her and gave the little kid a scratch behind the ear, earning her a satisfied purr. She let out a giggle as the little fox gave a yip and began chasing a grasshopper. Naruto smiled as well. No matter what, he had learned one thing about Kyuubi. Once the evil had been forced into her, was cleansed from her system, she was quite playful and affectionate. The only time he ever saw her get angry was when someone tried to hurt him or someone he cared for. Good morning, Sakura-chan. Naruto greeted with a kind smile and sat down next to her. Good morning, Naruto-kun. I like your little friend, she's cute. Sakura said, watching Kyuubi frolic about. That she is. Her name is Q. He said softly. Sakura looked at him, her eyes widened slightly. Q? As in Kyuubi? She gulped a bit. Sakura-chan, you forget, I explained already that she was forced into attacking. She was the first being to ever show me any form of love, and for that, Shinigami-sama granted her another chance at life as a Hanyu. She is in fox form so she can help me on missions and so she doesn't scare anyone. Do you really believe that a evil demon would just come up to you like she did and try to comfort you because she could feel that you were sad? He explained gently. No. Sakura calmed and looked at the fox and let another smile cross her lips as she rolled about in the grass. You have a way, don't you, Naruto-kun, to bring out the best in others, even when no one thinks they deserve it, don't you? I only do what I must to protect those precious to me. You are no exception. All I want is for my precious people is to be happy. Naruto said, placing his hand on her cheek. Sakura practically melted on the spot. Her mind lost almost all coherent thought as he leaned in and placed a gentle kiss on her lips as delightful electric shocks ran up and down her spine. Kyuubi watched smugly from the other side of the bridge. If there was one thing there Naruto-kun excelled in other than battle, it was being a lover. His kisses could even make her tails bush out, and no one had ever done that before. Naruto pulled away and reached into his pouch and pulled out a small box and pouch and presented Sakura with the ring and chain he had gotten for her. He had planned on asking her next after Hinata anyways, since he spent the most time with her and knew she could get insecure at times. Perhaps this would help. Sakura gasped as she saw the beautiful ring. Does this mean what I think it does? She asked softly. Yes, Sakura-chan, I would like to marry you sometime in the future. I know we are still young, and in time you might find someone else. I will respect that if it happens, but for now I wish to know, would you marry me when we are old enough? Naruto asked. Sakura's mind raced. Find someone else. Is he nuts? I doubt I could ever find another man that could even come close to how I feel about you, Naruto-kun. No one else would have done for me what you have done so far. And let's not forget this is practically a get into his pants soon sign. Kami, I bet he's an animal in the sack. Hush you. That can come in time. Don't ruin the moment, you pervert. Spoil sport. The answer is yes. I would love to marry you when we are older. Sakura said as happy tears welled up in her eyes. It might not have been the most original or romantic proposals, but the feeling was there all the same, and she loved him for it. Kyuubi padded back up to them and cuddled up on Sakura's lap as Naruto placed the ring on its chain around Sakura's neck and kissed her once more. Sakura was in such a happy daze that she didn't even notice Kakashi appear in a swirl of burning leaves. The Cyclopean man noticed the ring, the fox kid, and how close Naruto was to Sakura. He gave one of his usual lazy smiles. It was about time. He had wondered how long it would take for those two to get together. Sasuke just brooded off into his own little corner next to the tree on the training grounds and glared at the now happy couple. He could honestly care less about the pink-haired tart, but seeing her happy with the demon spawn made his blood boil. Naruto was the cause of all his problems, he and his brother. Somehow, someway, he would put down both the demon and his brother, then perhaps turn the demon's whores into his own personal slaves, or kill them before he kills the demon, whichever suited him first. Alright you three, we got to go catch Tora again and then report to the Hokage's office for our next mission. Let's get this over with. Kakashi said. Naruto let out a snort. Maybe we should use Hiraishin to catch the little bugger this time. Kakashi chuckled. Tempting. Very tempting. Kakashi then leaned down and whispered so only Naruto could hear. We can just send Sasuke after him, the cat seems to have a thing for him. Naruto smirked. Well, it's probably the closest thing Sasuke is ever going to get to catching a little, so I guess that works. It took every single fiber of Kakashi's willpower not to drop to the ground and bust out laughing. Granted, the Uchihas was frequently in question, but that was one of Naruto's better burns. Sakura just followed behind her sensei and new fiancé with Kyuubi happily perched on top of her head. Both watching with bemused looks on their faces as the Lord of the Brood brought up the rear, still stuck in perma-brood. 2 hours later found a highly amused Naruto and Kakashi with a slightly giggling Sakura, a sleeping Kyuubi on her shoulders, and a very scratched up, extremely irate Sasuke Uchiha. Unlike the last time in his previous timeline, Naruto had let Emo handle the furry little buzzsaw. This in turn caused several rather funny things to happen, the first being that Emo Prick's face was now in desperate need of a gallon of Bactine. The best part had come when Sasuke had tried to kick the cat only for said cat to latch onto his jewels with its claws. Kakashi had actually fallen out of the tree he was in due to laughing so hard. Oddly enough, the painful stimulation had caused Sasuke's little, and we do mean little, friend to react. Tora bit into it like a cocktail weenie. Hence the reason why his voice was now several octaves higher than usual. Team 7 stood in front of the Hokage's desk after handing the rather smug-looking Tora back to its overly affectionate owner, much to the cat's disdain. Sarutobi was for his part amused. He and Iruka had watched the whole event via his crystal viewing orb. Best show they'd had in ages. Sasuke was glaring at the cat's obvious discomfort with a slightly insane gleam in his black eyes. Had anyone actually heard what was going on in his head, he would have been sent to the mental ward and right for the padded room with a straitjacket. Naruto decided to get the ball rolling. Hokage-san, I believe we have enough D-rank missions accomplished to have a C-rank mission now. Do you have one we could take? I know for a fact that my team is ready. He asked in a polite tone. Iruka frowned. Naruto, don't you think you should train some more? C-rank missions can often get dangerous and elevate to higher rank missions. Naruto arched an eyebrow. Iruka-sensei, I killed a 5-tailed demon a few weeks back, and before that took out all of the root Anbu forces by myself. I doubt that AC rank is going to prove much problem, but it would be a good experience for Sakura-chan and Imo-tem. A ninja's skills and abilities are like a sword. When not used properly they grow dull and blunt. The only true way to find out if their training has been worth anything is to put them into a position where their skills and abilities can be properly tested and used. We aren't little kids anymore, sensei. We stopped being kids the moment we accepted our leaf headbands and the rank of genin. Kakashi was impressed but not surprised with Naruto's small speech. He was after all right. Sakura was very impressed and nodded her head in agreement. Sasuke just scowled. Iruka really couldn't question Naruto's logic, especially knowing his secrets, so he just nodded and sat back down. Sarutobi smiled and pulled out a C-rank mission scroll and handed it to Kakashi. That is a guard duty mission to protect the bridge builder, Tazuna-san, from Wave Country while he finishes building his bridge. It will be your jobs to escort him back to Wave and protect him from bandits and brigands until the bridge has been completed. Is that acceptable? Sarutobi asked. Yes it is, Hokage-sama. Kakashi answered. He didn't remember much about this mission from the memories he saw when Naruto showed them, only that it ended up being more dangerous than a simple C rank. Oh well, with himself and Naruto around not much could put them in danger. Very well, you may come in now, Tazuna-san. The old Hokage said in polite tones. The door on the other side of the office opened to reveal a drunken man with a bottle of cheap sake in one hand and dressed in slightly ratty clothes. The man eyed the group in front of him and shook his head. And here we go. Naruto thought dryly. I come here and pay for bodyguards and you give me 3 kids and their Cyclops instructor. They all look weak as hell, especially the one with the haircut that looks like a duck's. Tazuna slurred. Sakura glared, Kakashi shrugged and Sasuke looked ready to pounce, but Naruto beat him to it. In one swift motion Naruto appeared behind the man, put a kunai to his throat and snatched up his sake before taking a swig. He noted that it was a rather cheap brand with a bad taste to it. Tazuna-san, you best not misjudge a ninja no matter their look or age. Our sensei is quite feared in other countries and is very strong. Sakura-chan is the smartest in our age group with chakra control that rivals even a Junin with a fair amount of skills that easily place her at around mid-Chunin level. I myself am a taijutsu, ninjutsu, kenjutsu and fuinjutsu master. Though your assessment of the Imo-tem was pretty close, he does have a few skills. Naruto said in monotone as he handed the sake back to the scared man and removed his kunai. By the way, next time you get sake, buy Rice Country Select. It's reasonably priced and doesn't taste like dog piss and cleaning solution. Sakura had blushed at her fiancé's praise. Sasuke just snarled and was promptly bopped upside the head by Kakashi, who told him to behave. Truth be told though, he was very amused with the whole thing. Naruto is right, Tazuna-san, we are far more than capable to protect you, so you have nothing to worry about. He may be a genin but he is more powerful than I am, don't let his age fool you. Kakashi said in his usual lazy manner. Tazuna just nodded. Right then, when shall we leave? In a couple of hours. It will give my team time to do what they need to and gather what they need before we leave. We will meet at the west gate in 2 hours. Kakashi said and vanished in a swirl of burning leaves. Sasuke stalked out of the office while Naruto placed a hand on Sakura's shoulder and the two vanished in a swirl of fire. Tazuna let out a whistle. That's quite a group of kids you got there, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi smiled. Indeed they are. Indeed they are. After making the necessary farewells to the other ladies and gathering the equipment needed, Naruto and Kyuubi met the others at the gate and set off towards Wave Country. Before they had left, however, he had gathered the other girls and introduced Kyuubi to them. To his eternal shock, they had all taken to her quite well, none of them caring that she was once the feared demon that had attacked the village. Perhaps his explaining the truth behind the attack several weeks ago had helped. They even accepted her as part of his new family group. Naruto hadn't expected the ladies to be so accepting, but he wasn't about to argue, and Kyuubi seemed to really like the other girls, especially Hanabi, Hinata and Sakura. After several hours of travel, Naruto felt the presence of 3 chakra signatures prick at his senses and saw the familiar puddle of water in the road. What bothered him was the fact that there was 3 rather than 2, meaning things would be different this time around. Kakashi had also noticed it and checked to see if the others did. Sasuke was so into his brooding that he remained unaware but could still react swiftly enough if need be. Sakura and Q had inched closer to Tazuna, their eyes darting about. Kakashi smirked slightly. He should have known that Naruto would teach Sakura how to detect chakra signatures. Naruto, like him, had dropped back a little in preparation for the attack. He had made Kakashi aware of his secondary A rank and the Junin trusted his godson's abilities. After they passed the puddle, 2 familiar figures seemed to rise out of it. It was the demon brothers, just like the last time. The other figure was waiting in the tree line to provide backup. Naruto caught a glimpse of a familiar umbrella. It was his other target, Aoi Rokusho. 2 little piggies. The demon brothers snarled in unison as they shot their poison-chained gauntlets at Naruto and Kakashi. Kakashi was seemingly caught and shredded within seconds, causing Sakura to let out a strangled scream, but her instincts kicked in and she took a stance in front of Tazuna and erected a chakra barrier while mentally thanking Naruto for teaching it to her. Sasuke whipped around to attack, a slightly smug look crossing his features as he saw the bladed chain get ready to wrap around Naruto and end his life. The smugness was wiped from his face when Naruto drew his blades and sliced through the chains like they were paper. Not to be outdone, Sasuke threw several kunai and shuriken at the other chain, causing it to be stuck to a nearby tree. Wah! What the hell? The dual-horned brother asked. Sakura let out a cheer when her fiancé cut through the chains and smirked smugly to herself. No one would get the best of her, Naruto-kun. Naruto shot forward, twirling his swords behind him and sheathing them in one fluid motion. He didn't need his blades to handle these simpletons. Naruto's foot then skidded harshly across the ground as he raised his other leg, causing him to go into a frighteningly fast spin kick. Demon Dragon Hurricane. Naruto intoned as his foot hit the other man in the side of the head a couple of times before he used the momentum of the move to twist and bring his other foot across the mon's face in a sideways heel smash before landing on both feet and crossing his arms. Pathetic. Emo-tem, handle the other moron with Kakashi-sensei. I'll handle the last one, isn't that right? Rokusho-san. Sakura nearly lost concentration on her barrier when another missing ninja with an umbrella and a crackling golden sword jumped out of the tree line next to them. She gasped at the sword. It was the legendary Raijin, the sword that had been stolen from Konoha that had belonged to the second Hokage and Senju clan. Kakashi appeared as well and knocked the other demon brother out. Be careful, Naruto, that sword is dangerous. He warned. Naruto remained impassive as he redrew Griever and Beowulf. Always started in shock when Griever also began to crackle with electricity as well as flickers of flames. Sensei, help, Sakura-chan, reinforce her barrier, this could get messy real quick. Kakashi didn't argue and quickly did as asked. He knew that glint in Naruto's eyes, he was a predator, and Rokusho was his prey. Even Sasuke had enough common sense to get the hell out of Dodge. Aoi smirked and tossed his umbrella up into the air and did a few hand seals. Ninja Arts 1000 Raining Needles. He then grinned evilly and glanced at Sakura. Once I'm finished with you, I'll make Pinky over there scream my name, it will be fun. Well, he's screwed. I wonder how many pieces Naruto will leave him in. Kakashi wondered with a sweat drop. Sakura glowered at the man, putting out a fairly decent amount of killing intent, once again reminding Kakashi why it wasn't a good idea to piss off a kunoichi, no matter their skill level. Kyuubi had also added in several growls of her own but inwardly smirked. This had just dug his own grave. Naruto was going to make him suffer, if the glint in his eyes was any indication. The umbrella opened and began shooting out hundreds of Senbon needles that had been soaked in various poisons. The smirk on the trader's face died as Griever began giving off a large amount of fire and electricity. Naruto's eyes almost seemed to glow blue with power as he prepared his strike. Fusion Sword Arts, Blazing Bolt Cutter. Naruto snapped and slashed his blade, causing a large wave of fire and lightning to erupt from it in a crescent arc that tore into the Senbon needles and melted them mid-flight before it sliced through and destroyed the umbrella. Snarling, Aoi swung the Raijin at Naruto and unleashed a large bolt of lightning and dashed at Naruto. Naruto dodged the attack but had to guard against a strike from the Raijin. This caused Naruto to grunt in pain as several thousand volts of electricity ripped through his body. Shocking, isn't it? Aoi taunted. Naruto smirked, causing Aoi to get a bit nervous. Tell me, Rokusho-san, what was ancient Earth's capital of Thailand? Naruto asked in a conversational tone. Huh, Aoi asked. What the hell is Thailand? Bangkok. Naruto's foot shot up and delivered a bone-crunching blow to the missing ninja's family jewels. Aoi's eyes crossed as he let out a gurgled squeak of pain. Foam could be seen gathering in his mouth as his face turned blue. Kakashi winced and subconsciously grabbed his own little buddy protectively. Oh, that's gotta hurt. He almost felt sorry for the man, almost. Sakura looked oddly amused with the whole situation, a fact that scared the shit out of Kakashi. Only a woman could be amused with that level of pain from a guy. Hell, even the emo Tem looked highly uncomfortable at this point. Talk about below the belt. Aoi at this point was in so much pain he had attempted to cry out in pain, but instead it sounded more like he was attempting to hit the high note in some sort of opera. The man could have sworn to Kami that his nuts bounced off his stomach before dropping again. The blow had caught Aoi so off guard that he lost focus on the fight as he tried to keep from throwing up. The Raijin fell from his hands and clattered to the ground. The last thing he saw was the blade of Naruto's sword coming across in a deadly arc, then darkness. He knew no more as his head rolled from his body with a spurt of blood. Fire release. Grand Fireball Jutsu. Naruto said emotionlessly and torched the body of Aoi Rokusho. Seek and terminate mission, success. He said as he picked up the Raijin and sealed it in the head of Aoi into a scroll as proof. And to think, Aoi Tem gave us such a problem the last time. Pretty sad considering his kenjutsu is moderate level at best and he relied too much on the power of the Raijin. Damn, I sure was a fool back then. Oh well, though. Part of me is curious as to why he's here when we didn't meet him until after the Chunin exams and Tsunade became Hokage in the previous timeline. Must be another of those paradox things. Naruto mused. That was brutal, even for you, Naruto. Kakashi said. Naruto shrugged. The bastard threatened. Sakura-chan, he's lucky that's all I did to him. Sakura just rewarded him with a kiss. She was still a little perturbed that Naruto could kill without showing emotion or that he could do it so efficiently. Though she secretly wished he had left a little for her to pound into the ground. Oh well, there was always the next pervert. Tazuna shuddered. Note to self: do not piss off the blonde kid or make remarks about his girlfriend. Kyuubi perched on Naruto's shoulder. She could feel through their link that he still felt disgusted at taking a human life. Granted, he had gotten so that he would not hesitate to kill to keep one of his precious people from getting hurt. He still held that part of his humanity that made him feel bad for extinguishing a life, even if it was an evil one. Still, he knew his duties and what was expected of him. The ends justified the means. Sorry you had to see that, Sakura-chan. Naruto said softly. She gave him a weak smile. Don't worry about it, Naruto-kun, we have to get used to it one way or another. While this was going on, Kakashi was busy getting some info out of the demon brothers. He got very little. When he confronted Tazuna, the bridge builder spilled his guts about Gato and the horrible situations within Wave Country. He even tried to play on their sympathies, not that it worked, but they had still planned on finishing the mission anyways. The boat ride the rest of the way to Wave was mostly uneventful, except for Sasuke suffering from a case of seasickness. The bridge was as large and magnificent as Naruto remembered it being. Even through the thick mists, its silhouette could be seen in the distance. Once they landed on shore and gave their thanks to the boatman, Naruto became slightly agitated. The only ones to really notice though were Kakashi and Kyuubi. Sakura did notice that something was bothering Naruto but figured it was just his instincts. Even she was on edge since the previous attack from the demon brothers. They hadn't gotten too far inland when Naruto caught several different scents: metal, clover oil, medicinal herbs, and lilac. He wasn't sure just where the hell the final scent came from, but he sure as hell knew where the others did. Naruto then heard the faint sound of a twig snap. Might as well get this ball rolling. Q. Keep an eye on Sakura. Alright. Be careful, Naruto-kun. Naruto didn't answer and flung a kunai into the bushes. Seconds later, a frightened white snow hare hopped out. Sakura was about to ask Naruto why he was so jumpy when she saw him and Kakashi both stiffen slightly. Duck. Hit the dirt. Kakashi and Naruto both shouted. No sooner did the group minus Naruto, who was out of range, hit the ground than a huge cleaver-like Zanbato come whirling over their heads and embed itself into the tree behind them. A large man with half his face covered with medical bandages and his forehead protector tilted slightly landed on the sword. The rest of him was covered in gray Anbu pants and bandages, no shirt. Sakura thought the man looked like a brute. Ah, Sharingan Kakashi, now I see why the demon brothers failed. The man said in a deep growling voice. I remember reading about you in my old bingo book. Sharingan Kakashi, master of over 1,000 jutsu and genius student of the legendary 4th Hokage of Konoha. Kakashi ushered Tazuna, Sasuke and Sakura behind him. Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the mist. How the mighty have fallen, working for a scumbag like Gato, for shame. Zabuza shrugged. Hey, a job is a job and I need to earn money one way or another. No offense, but I'm going to have to kill the old man now. I'll let you and your brats live if you step aside. Zabuza then unleashed some of his killing intent. Sasuke stiffened in fear. Sakura swallowed hard and was having problems breathing. Kakashi let a single bead of sweat trickle down his face. Naruto yawned. Zabuza glared at the blonde. Either he was too stupid to be afraid or